My son said, "That man comes here when you're not home." I thought he was joking until I checked the camera footage and saw something I can't explain. Kids say strange things all the time. Imaginary friends, random stories, things that don't make sense. And as a parent, you learn to smile, nod, and not take everything seriously. That's what I did. I thought it was just one of those moments. I was wrong. It started on a normal evening. Nothing unusual. I got home late from work, tired like always. My son Ethan was sitting on the couch watching cartoons. He looked up at me and smiled. "Hey, Dad." I smiled back. "Hey, buddy." I dropped my keys, sat down next to him. "How was your day?" He shrugged. "Okay." Normal answer. Normal day, until he said something that didn't feel normal. "That man came again." I frowned slightly. "What man?" He pointed casually toward the door. "The one who comes when you're not home." I laughed a little. Not because it was funny, but because it didn't make sense. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "He comes in the afternoon," Ethan said. "Sometimes he sits here." He patted the couch next to him. I felt a small discomfort, but I brushed it off. "Probably just your imagination," I said lightly. He shook his head. "No, he's real. Kids say things like that. You don't panic. You don't jump to conclusions." So I didn't. "Okay," I said. "Well, what does he look like?" Ethan thought for a second. "He's tall," he said, "and he talks to Mom." That part made me pause. "Talks to Mom?" I repeated. "Yeah," he nodded. "They go in your room." Something shifted inside me. Not fear. Not yet. Just a feeling. "Does Mom know him?" I asked. "Yeah," Ethan said. "She smiles when he comes." I leaned back slowly. Now my brain started working. Visitors? Maybe. Friends? Possible. But why wouldn't she mention it? And why would Ethan describe it like that? I looked at him again. "You sure about this?" He nodded. "Completely serious. That's what made it different. Kids lie sometimes, but they don't usually lie like that. Not calmly. Not consistently." "What's his name?" I asked. Ethan shook his head. "I don't know. He just comes." I forced a small smile. "All right," I said. "Maybe next time you can tell me more, okay?" "Okay," he replied, then went back to watching TV like nothing happened. But for me, nothing felt normal anymore. That night, I asked my wife casually, "Hey, anyone come by today?" She looked at me, confused. "No, why?" I hesitated for a second, then said, "Ethan mentioned someone." She laughed softly. "Probably one of his stories." That was it. No hesitation. No weird reaction. Just normal. And that should have been enough. But it wasn't. Because something about the way Ethan said it didn't feel like a story. That night I couldn't sleep properly. My mind kept replaying it. "He comes when you're not home." It sounded simple, but it didn't feel simple. The next day I left for work like usual. But halfway there, I made a decision. I turned the car around. Not because I believed it completely, but because I needed to be sure. I parked a few houses away. Waited. Watched. Nothing happened for a while. Then, around 2:15 p.m., I saw something. A car, pulling up slowly. My heart started beating faster, because I didn't recognize it, and it wasn't supposed to be there. I stayed in the car. Didn't move. Didn't even breathe properly. The engine was off, windows slightly down, just enough to hear anything unusual. The car that pulled up, it wasn't familiar. Dark color, clean, tinted windows. It stopped right in front of my house. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. For a second, nothing happened. Then the driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, just like Ethan said. My stomach dropped. I leaned forward slightly, trying not to be obvious. He looked around once. Calm. Not nervous, not rushed, like he'd been here before. That part hit harder than anything. Then he walked straight to my front door. No hesitation. No checking the address. He knew exactly where he was going. I felt something cold settle in my chest. And then, the door opened. From inside. My wife. She didn't look surprised. She smiled. That smile, that confirmed everything Ethan said. They said something to each other. I couldn't hear it from where I was. But it wasn't formal. It wasn't distant. It was familiar. He stepped inside, and the door closed. Just like that. I sat there, frozen. Not angry yet, not thinking clearly, just processing. Because part of me still wanted to find a normal explanation. A friend, a relative, something I didn't know about. But deep down, I already knew. I checked the time. 2:17 p.m. Ethan would be home soon. That thought snapped me back. I couldn't just sit there. So I got out of the car quietly, walked closer to the house. Each step felt heavier, like I wasn't ready for whatever came next. I stopped near the side window, not fully exposed, just enough to see inside. And what I saw was enough. They were in the living room, talking. Close, too comfortable. Not strangers, not even casual. Something more. Then he laughed, and she touched his arm. That small gesture said everything. I stepped back. Didn't need to see more. Didn't want to, because now there was no confusion. No, maybe. Just truth. I walked back to my car slowly, sat down, closed the door, and just stared ahead. My mind was racing now, Ethan's words replaying in my head. He comes when you're not home. He wasn't imagining it. He was telling the truth, and I ignored it. I checked the time again. 2:32 p.m. School bus would arrive soon. I couldn't be there when Ethan got home. Not like this. So I drove away. Not fast, not slow, just numb. The whole drive, I kept thinking. How long? How long has this been happening? How many times has he been in my house? While I was out working? While my son was there? That thought made something shift inside me. This wasn't just about me anymore. This involved my son. And that changed everything. When I got to work, I didn't even remember parking. I just sat there for a while, trying to breathe normally, trying to think straight. But one thing was clear now. I couldn't ignore this. Not anymore. That evening, I walked into the house like usual. Same routine, same calm expression. My wife greeted me like nothing happened. "Hey," she said, "you're home early." I nodded. "Yeah." Ethan ran up to me. "Dad!" I hugged him, tighter than usual. He didn't notice. Kids don't. And honestly, I was glad. "Did the man come today?" I asked him quietly. He nodded. "Yeah, he left before you came." I looked at my wife. She was in the kitchen, back turned, like everything was normal, like nothing had happened. And in that moment, I realized something. The hardest part isn't finding out the truth. It's acting like you don't know it until you're ready to face it. And I wasn't ready. Not yet. But I would be. That night felt unreal. Like I was living in the same house, but everything inside it had changed. We had dinner together. Same table, same routine. My wife talked about her day. Ethan told a random story about school. And I just sat there, nodding, listening, acting normal. But inside, nothing was normal. Every time I looked at her, all I could see was that afternoon, that door opening, that smile. I kept asking myself one thing. How long? But I didn't ask her. Not yet, because I needed more than just what I saw. I needed the full truth. The next morning, I made a decision. If this had been happening for a while, there had to be a pattern. So instead of confronting her, I started watching. Not obsessively, just carefully. The next 2 days, nothing happened. No car, no visitor. It almost made me doubt myself. Maybe it was just that one time. But then, day 3, same time, around 2 p.m., I parked in the same spot and waited. My heart was calmer this time, not because I felt better, but because I was prepared. And then, the same car pulled up, right on time. Same man, same calm walk to the door. And again, she opened it, smiled, let him in, like it was routine, because it was. That second time hit harder than the first, because now there was no doubt, no confusion, just confirmation. I didn't go closer this time. Didn't need to. I already knew what was happening inside. Instead, I stayed in the car, and I recorded it. Phone steady. Camera on. Car arriving. Man stepping out. Entering my house. Proof. Not for her. For me. Because once you see something like that, your mind still tries to protect you, tries to soften it. But footage? That doesn't lie. After about 40 minutes, he walked out again. Same calm expression. Same confidence. Like he had nothing to hide. That part made something shift inside me. Not anger, resolve. Because now, this wasn't confusion anymore. This was a decision. And I had to make one too. That evening, everything felt heavier. I walked in. Same routine again. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I replied. Ethan hugged me again. And for a second, that grounded me, reminded me what actually mattered. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. Him. Later that night, after Ethan went to sleep, I sat in the living room, waiting. She came out after a while. "Why are you still up?" she asked. "I wanted to talk," I said. That was it. The moment. She sat across from me. "What's wrong?" she asked. I looked at her. And this time, I didn't hesitate. "Who is he?" Silence. Not confusion. Not denial. Just stillness. That same silence from before. "What are you talking about?" she said. There it was. The lie. But this time, I was ready for it. "I saw him," I said calmly. Her face changed. Just slightly. Twice. Now she knew. There was no way out of it. No pretending. No avoiding. She looked away. And in that moment, I realized something important. She wasn't thinking about what to say. She was thinking about what I already knew, and how much she could still hide. "I don't know what you think you saw." I cut her off. "Stop." My voice wasn't loud, but it was firm. "I saw him walk into my house," I said. "I saw you open the door. I saw everything I needed to see." Silence again. This time heavier. Real. Then finally, she said it. "It's not what you think." I exhaled slowly. Because that sentence, it always means exactly what you think. "It's not what you think." That line just hung there. I looked at her for a second. Not angry, not even surprised. Just tired. "Then tell me what it is," I said. She hesitated. Looked down at her hands. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said. That wasn't an answer. "That's not what I asked," I replied. Silence. Then she finally said it. "He's someone I know." I almost laughed. "Obviously," I said. "Try again." She closed her eyes for a second, like she was buying time. "It didn't start like that," she added. There it was. The shift. From denial to explanation. And that told me everything. "How long?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. "How long?" I repeated. "A few months," she said quietly. "A few months?" I nodded slowly. Ethan's voice echoed in my head. "He comes when you're not home." This wasn't recent. This was routine. "While I'm at work?" I asked. She didn't answer. That was enough. "And Ethan?" I added. "He's been here while my son is in the house?" That one hit her. "I never let anything happen in front of him," she said quickly. I leaned back. "That's your defense?" I asked. "No," she said. "I'm just saying that he was still here." I cut in. Silence. Because she knew. There was no version of this that sounded okay. "Who is he?" I asked. She swallowed. "Someone I knew before you," she said. "Before me?" I repeated. She nodded. "So this just came back?" I asked. She didn't respond directly. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she said. I shook my head slightly. "But it did," I replied. Another silence. Then she said something that actually made me pause. "I felt alone." I looked at her. "Alone?" I repeated. "You were always working," she said. "Always busy, always tired." There it was. The reason? Or at least her version of it? "I didn't plan it," she continued. "It just happened." I stayed quiet for a second. Because part of me wanted to react, to argue, to defend myself. But instead I said something simple. "You had a choice." She looked at me. "Every single time," I added. Silence again. "Because that part, there's no excuse for. I didn't mean to hurt you," she said. "I believe that," I replied. And I did. "But you still did," I added. That's the part people don't understand. Intent doesn't erase impact. "I don't know what to do," she said quietly. I looked at her. And for the first time, I wasn't confused. I wasn't hurt. I was clear. "I do," I said. She looked up. "What?" she asked. "This doesn't continue," I said. Her expression changed instantly. "What do you mean?" "I mean this ends," I replied. "You're just going to walk away?" she asked. I paused, then said something that surprised even me. No, I said. I'm walking away from this. She didn't speak. This situation, I continued. This version of us. Another silence. And Ethan? She asked quietly. That question, that one mattered. I looked toward the hallway. His room, sleeping, unaware. He comes first, I said. Always, no matter what happens between us. She nodded slowly, tears in her eyes now. I messed up, she said. I didn't argue, because she did. But this wasn't about making her admit it. It was about what happens next, and I already knew my answer. I stood up. Daniel, she said. I stopped. But I didn't turn around, because I didn't need more words. Not anymore. Sometimes, you don't leave because you stopped loving someone. You leave because you finally respect yourself enough to stop accepting less. And that's where I was, finally. I didn't leave the house that night. Not immediately, because this wasn't just about walking away. Ethan was asleep down the hall. And no matter what happened between me and her, he came first. I sat in the living room for a long time after that. No TV, no phone, just silence. She didn't come back out. I think she knew there was nothing left to say. The next morning felt strange. We moved around each other like strangers. No argument, no tension, just distance. Ethan didn't notice. Or maybe he did in his own way. Kids always do. At breakfast, he looked at both of us and asked, "Why are you both so quiet?" I forced a small smile. "Just tired, buddy." He nodded and went back to eating. But that question stayed with me, because this wasn't just affecting us anymore. It was already affecting him. Later that day, I took off from work. Not to think. Not to escape. To act. First thing I did? I spoke to a lawyer. Not dramatic. Just practical. I needed to understand my options. What this would look like. For me. For Ethan. Because walking away emotionally is one thing. Doing it responsibly? That's different. When I got back home, she was sitting on the couch, waiting. "I figured you'd go somewhere," she said. "I did," I replied. She looked at me carefully. "Are you serious about this?" she asked. "Yes," I said. No hesitation. That seemed to hit her harder than anything else. "You're not even trying to fix it," she said. I shook my head slightly. "You don't fix something like this overnight," I replied. "And you definitely don't fix it while it's still happening." She looked down. "I told you it's over," she said. I nodded. "I heard you," I replied. "But I also saw what was happening before that." Silence. "I can't pretend that didn't exist," I added. She didn't argue this time, because there wasn't much left to argue. That evening, we had another conversation. More practical. Living arrangements. Finances. Ethan. The important things. And that's when it really sank in. This wasn't just a relationship ending. This was a life-changing. Over the next few days, things moved slowly. No big fights. No emotional scenes. Just decisions. I moved into the guest room. We kept things stable for Ethan, because he didn't need chaos on top of everything else. One night, while I was putting him to bed, he asked something that stayed with me. "Dad, is that man coming back?" My chest tightened. I looked at him carefully. "No," I said. He nodded. "Good," he replied. That one word said more than anything else. Kids understand more than we think. And in that moment, I knew I made the right decision. Not just for me, for him. The next week, I filed the paperwork, quietly. No announcement, no drama. Just moving forward. She didn't stop me. I think she knew this was where things were heading. And honestly, so did I. It wasn't anger anymore. It was acceptance. Because sometimes, you don't get closure from the other person. You give it to yourself. And that's exactly what I was doing. The paperwork didn't feel dramatic. No heavy music, no big emotional breakdown, just signatures, dates, decisions written on paper. That's the part people don't tell you. Big life changes don't always feel big in the moment. Sometimes they feel quiet. The weeks after that were about adjusting. New routine. New space. I moved into a small apartment not too far away. Close enough for Ethan. That was the only thing that mattered. We set a schedule. Shared time. Clear boundaries. No arguments. No blaming, just structure. And honestly, that helped more than anything. The first night Ethan stayed over at my new place. I was nervous. Not because I didn't know how to take care of him, but because I didn't know how he felt. Kids don't always say things directly, But that night, while we were sitting on the couch, he looked around and said, "Your place is smaller." I smiled a little. "Yeah, it is." He nodded, then added, "But it feels calm." That one sentence made everything worth it, because that's what I wanted. Not perfect, not fancy, just calm. A few days later, I saw my ex again. Briefly, we were exchanging Ethan. No tension, no long conversation, just a simple moment. "Take care of him," she said. "I will," I replied, and I meant it. Not just physically, emotionally too, because he had already seen enough. That night, after dropping him back, I sat alone for a while, thinking about everything, how it started, how it ended. And weirdly, I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt clear. Because in the end, this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about what you choose to accept and what you finally refuse to accept. A few weeks later, something small happened. Ethan called me. Random afternoon. I picked up instantly. "Hey, buddy." "Hey, Dad," he said. "Guess what?"
What?
"I told my teacher you're my hero." I froze for a second. "Why?" I asked. His answer was simple. "Because you always come when I need you." That moment, that one moment, was bigger than everything that came before. Because that's what actually matters. Not who stayed, not who left, but who showed up. And from that point on, I made sure I always would. Looking back, if I had ignored what my son said, if I had brushed it off like a joke, I might still be living a lie. Sometimes the truth doesn't come from adults. It comes from the one person who sees everything without filters. So yeah, next time someone tells you something that feels small, listen, because it might not be small at all. Tell me honestly, would you have checked or ignored it like I did at first? In my real opinion, honestly, I respect how he handled everything. No drama, no revenge, just calm decisions and focus on his son. The real strength wasn't catching the truth. It was what he did after. Most people react emotionally. He chose responsibility.